2 years ago, I beat Fallout New Vegas as a psychopath. If you haven't seen it, I'd highly recommend watching it. The premise was simple. Everyone who spoke to me had to die. But I wondered what would happen if the courier had an addiction to killing people. So today I ask, can you beat Fallout New Vegas as a serial killer? Here are the rules. I have to kill at least one human NPC every in-game 24 hours, and I must not be seen doing so. If someone attacks me, I'm allowed to defend myself whilst being seen, but that kill doesn't count. Let's get started. After giving my character an appropriate name and a handsome mustache, I align my specials to fit a melee build. For my tag skills, I pick speech, sneak and melee weapons, and for the traits, I go for my usual skilled and wild wasteland. Now there's another rule that I need to mention. I'm not allowed to leave Goodsprings until my first murder is committed. So I use my straight razor to end a nearby Goodsprings settler's work shift early. I drag him up to the gas station, chop him up, and dump the pieces in the back of a truck. So now I have to kill someone by Monday at 8:35 AM. And just so you have something to compare that to, when you exit Doc Mitchell's house after starting a new game, it's Sunday the 19th of October at 8 AM. Now that I can leave town, I decided that I wanted to get the chopper, a unique variant of the cleaver found at Wolfhorn Ranch. After arriving at Prim, I immediately run into old Johnny Nash's house after getting spotted by the ne'er-do-wells, because I've brought a knife to a gunfight and I'm not going to win that fight out in the open. After chopping their heads off, I head to the Bison Steve and murder all the vagabonds. I debated helping out Beagle, but I don't really want to be seen associating with a snivelling coward. So I murdered him, cut his head off, and dropped it in the fridge. So now the timer has reset to 1:53 PM on Monday. After avoiding the Nevada Highway Patrol Station, some jackals start attacking me. So after shish kebabbing them with some spears, I cut them up and place their limbs, heads and torsos in different piles. So anyone that walks past will see this and hopefully get deterred from a life of crime. Then I run through Nipton and shortly arrive at Wolfhorn Ranch. After grabbing the chopper, I actually managed to get a stealth kill on this Viper gunslinger. So now I have to kill someone by Tuesday at 11:18 AM. After passing through Novak, I come across a lonesome drifter, warming himself by his campfire, and saw an opportunity for some homicidal violence. After turning him into an abhorrent art installation, I got halfway up the road and realised that I'd forgotten to mark the time down because I'm a troglodyte. So all I know is I have to kill someone before Tuesday night. Then when I get to Vegas, I sell a bunch of stuff to the Gunrunners Vendertron, and when he runs out of caps, I head into Freeside and do the same at Mick and Ralph's. Had a run in with some Freeside scum and looted the outfit I'll be wearing for the rest of the run. Then I head to the Crimson Caravan Company to sell some shit until I have enough to pass the credit check. After doing so, I head back to Goodsprings to get some XP from training with Sonny. Whilst doing so, I saved a random woman from some geckos, shoved my cleaver into her back, dumped her in the well, and cut her into pieces. So the next kill has to be committed by 3:29 PM on Wednesday. After finishing up with Sonny, I decided to help the town fight the Powder Gangers, of which I only managed to convince Sonny and Trudy to join us in the fight. So it ended up just being us three, Ringo, and a few stragglers versus some dirty criminals, which sounds like we were at a disadvantage, but we kicked the shit out of them. Right after this, I paid a visit to Chet, because he hid inside his shop whilst the rest of the town risked their lives to defend it. So I relieved him of his measly existence, dismembered him, put his limbs in a bin, his head inside a crate, and his body in the freezer. So my next kill must take place on Thursday before 4:36 AM. I return to the strip and enter the tops to get the free XP. Then I wander around the Ultralux for a while, trying to find a quiet spot where I can commit some heinous murders. But there wasn't one. There are eyes everywhere in here. Then I have a brief stop at the Crimson Caravan Company to see if I can kill anyone there. But as it turns out, they are all sleeping in the same room and I don't want to risk ruining the run. So I'm off to help the Boomers, because I'm going to have to do this at some point anyway. Plus I get to kill George and dump his remains in the back of the truck outside. The scamming bastard deserved it. Now, I was so distracted by getting blown up by the Boomers that I forgot to check the time again. But because I checked the time before I left the Crimson Caravan Company, I know exactly what time it was right before I left to go to Nellis. It was 15 minutes past midnight on Thursday, and it took me 3 minutes to run from the CCC to the entrance to Nellis and kill him, and 1 real life minute equals 30 in-game minutes. So my next kill needs to be by 1:45 AM on Friday. After finally making it past a bombardment of missiles, I do the usual run through to help the boomers out, listen to this walking encyclopedia, which also gets me to level 6 and allows me to take the cannibal perk, then do some pest control. Then it came time to fix the solar array. I made a pit stop at Novak on my way to getting the spare parts from Helios 1 and murdered Jeannie Mae Crawford. Then I scattered her body across the reception to a motel. After what she did to Boone's wife, she deserved a far worse fate than this, I tell you. Now the time has been moved up from 1:45 AM to 10 PM. After half-inching the parts and repairing the arrays, I head to Lake Mead to raise the bomber from its watery grave. On the way, I chop Lieutenant Monroe's head off and hide both his head and his body in a nearby building. So now my next kill must happen before 9:21 AM on Saturday. After dealing with some pests, I raise the bomber. Pearl congratulates me for a job well done, then I head back to the strip and convince Benny to meet me in the presidential suite. Murdered him, placed his body on the pool table and cut him into pieces. Now I know I wasn't crouched when I killed him, so yeah, this kill doesn't count towards the timer, because Benny saw me. Technically speaking, the only witness is now a lifeless sack of shit, but them's the rules. I also remember before leaving the suite that I took the cannibal perk a while back. So after chowing down on some Benny burgers, I head to the NCR Embassy, and since I couldn't side with them in my last run, I decided to do so here. I would say it makes Pete look good, but from my experience, most NPCs and factions in this game are massive dickheads. Ambassador Cockhead tells me to get friendly with the boomers, which I've already done. So after getting Pearl to agree to fight by our side when we storm Hoover Dam, I return to Cock and Bulls for my next assignment. He wants me to resolve a disagreement between the NCR and the Kings. The King, however, sees this as an opportunity to use me as an errand boy, and I am not having that. So I decided to just tell the cuckold that he's refusing to cooperate, which means I have to report to Colonel Moore at Hoover Dam. Before I speak to her though, I head to Novak and help Cliff Briscoe slash his prices. After hiding his body, it turns out it was just in time. So now, my next deadline is Sunday at 9:07 AM. After heading to the dam, Colonel Moore gives me a bunch of troops to strong-arm the Kings. But I thought we might as well just shoot them all. After they go from impersonating Elvis to impersonating corpses, I return to Cooker and he tells me that he can't work with me anymore because I'm too violent. But Colonel Moore has requested my assistance over at the dam because apparently she has a need for insane lunatics with an inclination for homicidal outbursts. She tells me that she wants me to drive a wedge between the Great Khans and the Legion. But before I make the pilgrimage to Red Rock Canyon, I head to the roof of the dam and murder this armless engineer. Get it? Because I chopped his... Forget it. After dumping his body over the edge, I realised when I climbed down the ladder that his remains are right next to this soldier, who apparently doesn't give a shit. I'm definitely killing this guy soon. My next victim has to be game-ended by Monday at 12:19 AM. On the way to Red Rock, I make a pit stop at the Gunrunners and spend my hard-earned caps on a chainsaw. When I arrive at my destination, I run straight for Papa Khan's longhouse, and I try to convince him to change allegiances, but he won't budge. Now, obviously I can't just attack him because it's not self-defense, so I'm going to have to help Regis convince a few of the other Khans to change Papa's mind. Jack and Diane are easy, because convincing one convinces the other. But it's when I try to convince Melissa that the shit hit the fan. Melissa is located smack bang in the middle of Deathclaw country, and before I can even get to the Deathclaws, I have to fight through a plethora of giant rad scorpions. And after barely getting away from that by the skin of my teeth, when I come across the Deathclaws, I thought I was shit out of luck. But luckily, I found a spot on this rock where they couldn't hit me. After offing one with the laser RCW, the other one I turned into paste with my chainsaw when it got stuck in the rock I was using as the high ground. Then I used a stealth boy to get to Melissa's camp. After getting her to agree that the Legion are a bunch of skirt-wearing, mentally impaired shitbags, Before I head to Cottonwood Cove to get some evidence against the Romans, I make a stop at Goodsprings and euthanize Doc Mitchell. Now the next deadline is on Monday by 10:24 PM. Originally, the plan wasn't to dismember him, because I actually like Doc Mitchell, but unfortunately the chopper had other ideas. But I did manage to put him back together as best I could before heading to the fort. After running with some geckos, I finally arrive at my destination, grab the evidence, and scarper before I get shouted at by Mr. Clean. Then I make a pit stop at Goodsprings for a quick bite to eat. So after killing Trudy, I blended the meat and chowed down. Now my next murder must be committed by 4:28 PM on Tuesday. Upon my return to the Great Khans, it turns out that old Papa has been convinced that the Legion aren't very friendly. Shocker, I know. But to get him and his little gang to leave the Mojave, I have to speak to Ezekiel to learn the Khan's history. After Big Boy Khan agrees to make like a tree, I watch Carl get severe lead poisoning, then return to the dam. Colonel Moore tells me that the Omertas are up to something and she wants to find out what it is. And as usual, it's Muggin's ear that has to do all the dirty work. Before I head back to the strip, I head outside and kill the soldier from earlier that chose to ignore the body parts I threw at him, because not reporting the obvious murder that happened means he's now aiding and abetting me, and I really don't need a partner in crime. After turning him into a fleshy piñata, my next deadline is 4:51 AM on Wednesday. After I burst open some Freeside scum, I head inside the Gomorrah, and this quest is probably one of the easiest in the entire game, because all you have to do is pickpocket Caccino, steal Clandon's snuff tapes, and confront him about it. Now, some of you might not know this, but Clandon is a serial killer, and this Mojave isn't a big enough hunting ground for two apex predators. So after letting him shoot me, I stab him in the spine, drag his ass to the bathroom, chop him into pieces, chuck his limbs into the bath and his head into the bog. Then after returning to Caccino, he escorts me to the bosses. And after letting them shoot first, I carve them up like Halloween pumpkins, which bumps me up to level 10 and allows me to take the Mr. Sandman perk. This should make killing people so much easier, as long as they're asleep. After devouring their flesh, I head to the Lucky 38 and grind Howard Hughes into jelly. Now Colonel Moore wants me to destroy the Brotherhood of Steel, but before I do, I head to the 118 and test out the Sandman trait on my next victim. So now my next kill must be done by 3:19 AM on Thursday. Then I chop him into some choice cuts and have a late night snack. Now, you might have noticed that whenever I have to deal with the Brotherhood, I always grab Veronica from the 118 trading post. This is because doing the quest for the Brotherhood takes the absolute piss, and I hate them with a passion. Probably more than I hate the NCR. And since most of the time when I play New Vegas I blow up the Brotherhood without feeling a scrap of guilt, what I experienced next was most likely a culmination of a backlog of negative karma. Because after setting the bunker to blow, these damn iPad kids killed me so many times to the point that I had to resort to hiding in a toilet and grinding them into mush when they entered, until the floor was littered with more viscera than a certain Milwaukee cannibal's fridge. Plus, by this point, I had completely run out of healing items, so the only way I could heal is by chowing down on their corpses. After I finally managed to escape the longest self-destruct countdown in existence, I return to Moore and she tells me that the President is paying a visit to boost the troops' morale, and wants me to ensure his safety. But before that, I use Mr. Sandman on one of the dam engineers, and hide her body under the bed. So the next deadline is Friday at 1:05 AM. But before I have a good old chinwag with Grant to start the quest, I need to make another kill, because when the quest starts, time fast forwards to 6 AM the next day, which puts me over the deadline. So whilst making my way back to the visitor centre, I end another engineer's existence, which bumps the time up to 11:56 AM Friday. This should be enough time. Protecting the President is a piece of piss, especially when you know where the Legion assassins will spawn. Once he's safe and sound, I head back into the dam and dismember another engineer whilst a mate was right in front of her without being spotted. This is the last kill that I will need to do, because now it's time to defend the dam from the kilt lovers. But just to make sure you're aware, The time she died was Friday at 8:23 AM. So as long as I can get through the next part in 24 hours, I should be golden. Which isn't too hard, as the gnashing teeth of my chainsaw made short work of even the most well-armoured Roman reject. After fighting past the rest of the scum, when I get to the legate's camp, 2 NCR soldiers sprint towards him to try and rush him. So I used this to my advantage to kill him whilst he was distracted. After half-inching his sword and helmet and having a quick snack, General Lee congratulates me on a job well done, and I get to watch the consequences of my actions laid out in front of me. And with that, I beat Fallout New Vegas as a serial killer. The time limit on this run really made things challenging, but it was really fun to leave a trail of destruction in my wake.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe? It helps out the channel massively. Plus, if you turn on the notification bell, you get to watch more juicy content from yours truly when it releases. If you want to support me further, consider joining as a channel member. You get early access to videos and a mention in them for being such a legend. If there's a specific video you want to see, or you just want to have a chat, drop a comment down below, and I'll see you next time.